I have a confession. I didn't know Abu Dhabi was a real place until I decided to move there. I was finishing my second degree in art education at UBC, always with the intention to go abroad and to teach, when I got an email from a principal in Abu Dhabi. To be honest, I thought this was an elaborate kidnapping scheme. But after my Skype interview with Rob, who turned out to be from Toronto, I accepted the job. I arrived to Abu Dhabi to a wall of heat, to sand, and during Ramadan. I truly thought then, what did you do? To be honest, the year was a very difficult one. It was my first year of teaching, and I was extremely overwhelmed. But I was committed to learn as much as I could. I went to every mosque I was allowed into. I learned about traditional and contemporary Islamic art, and I learned that non-representational art can truly move the soul. I even took the time in Abu Dhabi to fall deeply, deeply in love and get really, really heartbroken all in the same year. By the time I came back to Vancouver, I was a very different person. I felt like I had set goals and I had not reached them. Nothing seemed to fit. Not the travel, not the teaching, and not the love. I decided I would just make the best of it. I started substitute teaching, but I really wasn't living with any passion. About a year ago in March, I decided to finally listen to that little voice inside my heart that said, "You know you always wanted to be an artist." From my time in art school, I remembered they told me that artists have art studios. So I thought I should go get myself one of those. I packed up my paints in my living room, and I found a place where I could really go work. At the beginning, not much was happening. I told myself, just keep showing up, keep showing up. The funny thing about saying you want to be an artist and then trying to be one, no one tells you how to do this. You kind of just make it up as you go. So I just kept showing up, and eventually something did start to happen. I thought back to my travels. What did I love so much about that time in my life? And I loved journaling. I loved seeing things and writing it down and really experiencing them. This time I started to journal right on the canvas. I would put a layer of plaster and I would write into the layer. But as I sat there looking at these words right in front of me, I thought, oh no, this is too much, too raw. And I started developing my style of revealing and concealing things, pushing words back and bringing them forward. I was using different patterns and designs that I had collected along my travels. This was a really great time for me. I was learning what I wanted to do as my career. I was developing a style. I created a website, and I really took things seriously. For once, I felt like I could do it. I was living very passionately. The problem with this was my whole unique style was built upon these angsty words, and all of a sudden, I didn't have that much angst. So I thought, I gotta find some angst. And I thought about my process and teaching. I really love teaching, and what I love about it is bringing art to people, either to enjoy it, but also as a way for them to deal with things in their lives, to create. It's helped me through so much. I thought about my process. My process are layers and layers, or veils and veils. For a year of my life, I was surrounded by women in veils, and it was a really interesting way to think about things. But I thought about the West. What in the West do we have that is similar to a veil that I could tap into? And a confessional screen kept coming to mind. A screen. We sit in a safe place, and we have the ability and the freedom to be as truthful as we want to be. So I thought of these screens. What if I could get people to confess, and I could use their words in a painting? Would the painting add in any sort of healing or help in any way? I thought I had to give it a go. I needed to create a safe space, though. That's the whole point of this booth. So I decided I would make an online anonymous message board. People would type in, send it to my inbox, and I would never know who sent it. So I launched it on my website. I also felt like I needed a goal for people, to ask them to do this sort of confession. As you can imagine, the Vancouver Art Gallery was not knocking at my studio door for this show. So I had to make it happen. I had to find a space, and I had to promote my own show. And I did. I kept going with it. I would get these confessions, and if the words stuck with me and I could think about them, I would use them as inspiration for a painting. I've gotten sad, I've gotten happy, and I've gotten everything in between. At the show, I also created a full-size confessional booth, which is at the back of the room tonight. People could step inside at the show and experience and participate by letting go of something they needed to write down, step out of the booth, and see what could happen. It was a really interesting night. We had over 125 people come, and 13 paintings were on showcase. What I really love about this project and why I'm so passionate about it is I found that it takes something isolated, something that maybe society sees as shameful, and it takes it in a different way. Now it's a piece of art. Now it's something in a gallery that we can look at, and all of a sudden a conversation happens. A conversation and a community. I've heard so many times people say, wow, I felt that way before. So my next show is May 1st here in Vancouver, the same night as the other show he was talking about. You have to come to both. And I need more inspiration, so you can step into the booth or go on my website and give your confession. It could be made into a beautiful painting. But I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite confessions. My last show, I got a confession that said, I go to art shows and I lick the paintings.